You're tuning into.
You're now tuning into
CodenameZ.
And welcome back, everyone. Don't even talk about my dancing, first of all.
Ooh, Lord Jesus, if we could have a camera.
Everyone, we are back. And
Jesus be a lens.
We are doing our record and post same day.
Yeah, oh God, yes. I forgot about that.
Because I had coronavirus. I am better now.
The one who preaches about COVID had COVID.
Right. And you know why I didn't have COVID? Because I did not get my booster shot.
Who are we going off
like
on?
they told me 4 months ago.
I didn't get my booster yet either, and I was COVID free.
Because she took the test. Y'all, he was having symptoms. He took the test like 10 days later.
First of all,
so he was already COVID.
No, but first of all, symptoms as in I had a cold. Yes, a cold. Because cold still exists in the world. Not everything is COVID or the Omicron, Amarion challenge. Not everything is the Delta Sigma Phi.
You know what happened when I caught Omicron? I'm not
when you caught.
Whatever.
By the way, but okay. Court. Those. Here we go. Man.
He thought he ate. Is that what the kids say?
Anyway, because like this is what happens when you tell old people new slang, like us young people.
When I had Omicron, Amarion, how I got it, it was said that it was just a common cold, and 18 of us had COVID. So that's all I'm saying. But I exaggerated with 18, but it was probably about like 7 or 8. But anyway, I'm just saying, monitor symptoms, get tested is always best to know. Do whatever you feel like to feel safe. For me, I'm going to get my booster on Monday, and wear masks in large crowds, because even though it was minor. Wait, let's intro first. I'm
Tyrone. We just started talking. Okay, and I am Trisha Paytas. Okay.
Here we go with these names I've never heard of before. But
no, she's really problematic. And I'm Basil Anthony.
And this is CodenameZ
podcast.
COVID free. Yay!
Well,
yep, so I'm finally off of quarantine, tested negative. But all I'm saying real quick is that it was pretty mild. Like, it wasn't horrible. The first night, I did have fever and chills like I was doing the Harlem Shake. So that was the worst night, the first night. But then after that, by like day 3, I was better for the most part. And then I was just waiting to get off of quarantine. But all I'm saying is that it's just still not... It's still nothing you want to catch. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no.
even colds. Like, people now, like, when it's not COVID, people feel kind of comfortable. But I'm like, even you still don't want to catch a cold either. Like, it's just still not fun, period, being sick. But anyway, so, Basil, what's our topic for today? What are we talking about?
So, interesting how this came across. I, Ubered over here because, still broke bitch, don't got a car. And I was Ubering, and I was talking to my Uber driver. And, we didn't really have a topic picked out technically because we didn't talk about it before.
Right.
So I was like, I don't really know. So I was talking to her, and we kind of got on the topic of parenting. So shout out to that Uber driver. Right. Also, you guys can find her on Facebook. You just going to...
Give her a round of applause. I
was going to say, dang, I got to find her Facebook again. You can also find her on Facebook at Delightful D Scents. She sells candles,
Entrepreneur.
Yes, young black entrepreneur. We got to support our black people.
I did your favorite sound.
Did you do a bing bong? Oh, my God.
Yeah. We had to do a bing bong for the entrepreneurs. Go ahead.
Anyway. So, I think this week we're going to talk about parenting.
Yes. Okay.
Ooh. Now, this is the time
Let's
for
get right into it.
This is the time for cheering. There we go.
Or depending on how you parent
Jesus.
But anyway, let's start. Basil, would you charge your kids rent? And at what age would you charge them rent?
Okay, so I'll put it like, no. I wouldn't charge my kid rent until 30.
Okay.
And even then, it's always like kind of like a little shaky thing because it depends on what you're trying to do. If you are actively working, and stuff like that, you know how hard it is to live by yourself, and you're trying to move by yourself.
Right.
So if you're actively working, you're still paying for everything, and you really can't afford to move.
Right.
Then I have no issue with that. The only time I would think I would start to charge my child rent is once you get past your 20s, because like 20s just come and go, like you don't even know.
Right.
But I think once you hit a certain age, and then if I feel like you're just not doing enough, Like
Right,
if you're
right.
content with just living home and like not working,
Right.
then I'm going to start charging you rent because I want you to go out and start doing something.
Right.
And even if I'm charging rent, I might just just take it, keep it in a different little account for you. And when you do move, boom,
I heard of
you
that
have
company.
something
Right.
to kind of fall back on.
And I did not agree with charging my kids rent until I was watching a YouTuber and she said that that's what she thinks that's what she would do with her son is charge him like a small, nothing crazy rent and basically make it like a forced savings account. She was like, he didn't know. Well, she was like, now he knows, but she was going to give it back to him when he was ready to move out so then they can have extra money. And I thought that was actually a pretty cool
I mean, it
idea.
may not be all of it. I might get like half of whatever.
Here you go. Because with the new sneakers and stuff. Come on.
Yeah, I gotta get groceries. Yikes! But yeah, like I would do something like that. I think because like I don't know. I think it's strange when parents act like when you turn 18 or 21 or whatever, you go from being their child to being a tenant. Right. Like that's weird, especially when you say 18. Because I'm like, I mean, like really kids be in college.
Yes, it's really popular. It can be like 18, and I mean like
the day of.
Yeah, like 18. You've been 18 for 35 minutes. Now it's like, get a job, come on, pay rent, and I'm like,
this is what the phone bill costs, and you called this many people last month.
I'm like, they were in high school 10 minutes ago. Like
I can't imagine. Like I mean, I worked through high school. I can't imagine paying a rent.
Yeah, that's
or any type of big bill like that. It wasn't like my phone. I've been paying my phone bill since high school.
Right.
Well, not. Yeah, I think I'm gonna say like high school / like high school into college. I was paying my own phone bill.
I started paying. 12th grade. I think I started paying because I had got my first job when I was working at. Where did I work in 12th grade? Ben and Jerry's.
I was gonna say Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah.
So I was in the writing center and in their math center.
Oh, the math center. Right.
So I was, whenever I got those checks, I was just paying my stuff straight out.
Right.
But that was just a little bit, like, that was getting $7 an hour, and I was only working, 2 hours?
Right.
That's why I had to work at the math and the writing center. At least I try to get at least 4 hours a week.
Right.
But like, I can't imagine at 18, my mom being like, oh, you guys are paying rent. Like, I didn't really start working, like, big checks until second semester college when I started doing the anchor.
Right.
And even then, I wasn't doing like a whole bunch. I was just a worker. Then I got promoted. Then I, went on.
Right.
And that's when I started getting like bigger paychecks. And I was able to pay my rent at school by myself.
Right.
Or, pay for stuff for the house or whatever by myself.
Right.
And then when I ended up getting out of college, that's when I, was, TSS, working for the school district, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then that's when I was like, oh, but I was like, I still couldn't imagine at that point paying full on rent.
Right.
I couldn't imagine that. Like, I knew I couldn't afford it. Like, whatever you want to charge me, it was too much.
Yeah. And it's like, and I just feel like
I was also paying for the most part, my own groceries and stuff like that. Things that I wanted specifically.
For yourself, right.
I would get, like, I mean, obviously I wouldn't go out and if my mom bought eggs, I'm going to buy more eggs. Like,
yeah, no.
But like stuff that I only primarily want to eat, I'm an adult, so I'm going to pay for my own things.
Right, of course.
Stuff like that. But like.
Yeah, and I just feel like you should give your child time to grow, time to get it together. Like, right at 18 and expect them to pay, like, give them a second. Like, that's still honestly, even though, like, we all thought we were grown at like 18, but now even from 18 to 25, I realize how much I've grown and realize how like young you are. Now, some 18-year-olds are like more mature than others or whatever, but it's just like those times from like 18 even to 21 and even on your 20s, it's time for like growth and stuff. And some people just don't maybe get it together as quickly as other people and stuff. But I feel like they would get there. But like that's what I feel like. It's about what they're doing. Like, okay, if you're like 24, 23, and like you're working a pretty good job, but it's just like you just seem to not have no interest of moving, and then it's like, okay, now you coming home with some Balenciagas and stuff like that, and all sorts of stuff, and the newest iPhones, and it's just like, okay, yeah. How about you pay this?
Even then, though, I think depending on what you get paid, I mean, some people do like treat themselves. Like, I mean, I wouldn't.
Yeah, you can.
It depends. It depends on how much. I say it depends on how much.
It's a different.
Like, if you're not paying me rent and you're still living with me and you're 35, but like your whole closet is Gucci,
right?
We're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, treating yourself is different, but if you coming home all the time with, pretty much what I'm saying is like, I feel like also you do want to teach them responsibility, because it's like if it seems like they have no interest to move, they're not even paying a single bill, maybe outside of their cell phone bill, and it's just like, basically, I feel like it's not a realistic adult life to get them used to. Like, in the real world, you just can't spend all your money on fun things. Like, you're going to have to pay something. So, like, I wouldn't want them to necessarily get accustomed to thinking that, like, oh, all my paychecks, I could go out or go to eat and go to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because every black parent's like, you know, what you gonna do when I'm not here?
Right.
If you run into that situation where it's like, now you're at home, let's say you're 45, 50, 60 years, okay, not 60, but like, let's say you're like 45, 50 years old, still living at home.
Right.
And your mom, depending on when she had you, is 80 going on 90.
Right.
She's not gonna be there forever. If you have...
Live to 120. 130.
Well, let's talk about realistically. You know, but let's say like realistically, you know, she passes away, or you know, mom, dad, whoever passes away, and like it's just you. You don't have any type of skill to know how much to budget for rent.
Right.
You don't. You don't think about that because you're thinking, oh, every time I get a paycheck, I can go to the hookah lounge and get me some bottles, and I can go on vacations and all this. And then when you know, mom passed, dad passed, whoever passed, who was like, you know, you're in their house.
Right.
You got to start literally every bill. If you save the house and they, you know, every bill is in your name. So now you got to start paying electric, water, gas, rent or mortgage, all
bills,
that.
Right. And those bills are no joke. Like, when you be getting a paycheck, after you pay them bills, it'd be like, it's real sad. It's real sad. Like, it'd be just like, where did all the money go? Like, it really just
like, listen, even with my like little bit of bills I have now, I look outside, I see somebody walking around with like a new pair of Jordans. I'm like, must be nice.
Not right.
No, I can't. Even if I can't afford it, I'm like, you know, I'm not even gonna take that out of my like. You know, I want to decorate more in my apartment. Even now, I'm like, I had to push myself to think like, ooh, can I afford like get this contact paper? Right. But it's like, what if something happened? What if I, you know, it's like, I can't like. So you have to have that type of like skill. So I feel like if you just be sitting at home and just wasting your checks on anything, you're not going to be ready when something bad does happen. Right. You're not going to be prepared for it. So I think that, you know, I would charge just to kind of give you the mindset or the skill to like, okay, I know how much I need to save per month for this, and this. Right.
Or even if it's not charging them rent, maybe find whatever your cheapest bill is and at least try to have them pay that. Like, I don't know, if you don't use gas a lot in the gas bill, she'd be like, okay, every month you're going to pay the gas bill or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Just something to get them in.
Or another thing too with parenting, and I think I wish I would have did this more with my parent or my mom or whatever. I would say definitely go over the bills with your kids. So even at a young age, that'd be something smart to just show them what it is. Cause like, you know, like even now, like when you look at your paycheck, you know in your head, okay, what I need to save for next paycheck, what I got to save for next month. I have this back in June. Cause a lot of kids, you know, a lot of parents, I think especially our type of parents, you know, black, don't show the kid, like, you know, my finances, what I get paid a month is what I get paid. Right. I would show them, because if you think like when I was younger and I knew how much my mom got paid an hour, I'm like, child, you can afford all this. What are you talking about? Why we don't have X, Y, and Z? And then like as I got older and we started talking about that, and I think at one point I was even making more than my mom at one point. Right. And I was like, child, this is ghetto. I can't afford nothing. But like looking back at it, you're like, you thought your mom was a millionaire.
Right. Because it's like I'm looking at the wages and I'm like, even my last job before the layoffs at the mayor's office, I was making pretty good money, but still, even with that money, I'm like, oh my God, like, what if I had a kid right now? Like, this is going to be stretching it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
especially like a young kid. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, as younger, like, I don't know, when you get your teens, I definitely, as a parent, I would like, we're going to go over and like, I'll show you how much I get paid. Right. I'm going to show you how much come out in taxes. I'm going to show you how much the bills are. And I'm going to show you how much you want to get in a month, and show you exactly how much you got to still pay for groceries, all that. Like, go over your finances with your children, no matter like how young they are, to show them. Right. You might think, ooh, you get paid $2,400 or whatever. You might get paid $2,000, $3,000 a week, and you're like, ooh, yeah. Yeah. And
it's only ooh because you're not paying no bills.
After taxes come out, after all the bills come out, after everything else come out, you're like, ooh. You're like, dang, I got $10 left. Like. And then my son went GTA 6. Like, I can't even get it.
Be like, I remember, I think it's Jeannie Ma from The Real. She always would say how, she grew up in like an Asian household. She's like, her parents, she'd be like, anytime like they couldn't afford something like real nice for their birthday, she said her mom would be like, Do you see the electricity? Do you see the electricity? Do you see that we can use air conditioner? Talk about that's your gift. Like, that's where our money is going to. Like, but I'm like, it is true.
Which, I mean, once you grow up, like, listen, little gifts like that, listen, you just give me money for, like, you know, like, little kids, like, oh, I want something, like, I'm so glad to get money. If somebody says, you know what, for your birthday, I'm gonna pay your rent.
Right.
Thank you. I'm paying gas bill, the phone bill, good.
Right.
Like, money goes a long way.
A long way. It really does. But do you want to take a break now, or you want to keep chatting?
I'm trying to think, because what is our next homework?
Well, I think our next one we're just gonna go into kind of the, like, boundaries and like respect for your children. Yeah.
Well, I guess next. Yeah. So let's go a quick break, and then we'll go back into that.
Okay. Be back, guys.
It's a new year, it's a new week, it's a new day for a podcast. This week's episode is sponsored by the very free, very affordable Anchor app that you can find on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Download it today, start your podcast, but don't come for our gig. And now, back to the show.
And we're back.
Yes, we are. Okay, Max, I couldn't see. Thank you.
Mute his mic.
Thank you so much. Rude.
Mic muted.
Anyway, but so kind of just to tie a knot in what we were talking about last episode. Before break. I was having a very interesting conversation with my Uber driver, and this is kind of where we got into the parenting thing.
Right.
And she was just telling me a story of basically offering someone a opportunity to benefit financially.
Right. And
the person rejecting that offer due to the fact that their parents kind of like not in charge of, but has taken a large sum of their money. Mm-hmm. Which, you know, not gonna get into my own life, but I mean that at one point was a thing. Not to be like, you know, not to take it as in like, oh, like this is mine, I can take it, but just to be like, oh, I needed help with something, so I took something, you know, whatever. But what do you think on, like, do you think that's fair? Do you think it's fair for parents in general to, even if you have control of your child's things, do you think it's fair in general to take what they make, like what they earn?
Right. No. Like,
okay, make sure we're on the same path here.
Right.
It's very inappropriate, I think.
Yeah, I don't think,
because if your child is working and your child is getting a paycheck, or your child's getting funding from government, or wherever your child's getting money from, that's what they are making. And I mean, and again, unless they owe you something,
right?
You know, let's say, like, or for instance, if your child is coming and just use all the hot water,
right,
and eats all the food, eat all the snacks, eat all the Pop-Tarts, and be leaving you hungry and starving and with cold water, then okay, maybe I would take a little bit of some funds from my child, like, oh, you need to pay for some of these bills, this grocery bill, something.
Right.
But I think a lot of people in our people, sometimes, parents do think that they're like, oh, because I fed you and I bathed you, okay, you did what a parent's supposed to do.
Right.
So I don't think that's not like, you shouldn't be like trying to benefit from your child financially.
Right.
You know, when they're out doing their own thing.
It's like that girl on TikTok. You ever see that? It was like every time I tell my parents no or something, he was like, my dad be like, they parents be like, I bathed you and fed you and took care of you, and she'd be like, okay.
Oh, her, yeah, Flossie.
Yeah, okay. That's what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, you're a parent. Like, you're supposed to do all that. Like, you're saying it like, you know, it's different. It's not like if you're like, I got you that Lexus. It's like, ooh, okay. Like, that's something. But when you're like, oh, for 22 years of your life, I gave you a house and a home, and I fed you and I bathed you and I put you through school. Yeah. I would hope so. What do you think the job of parenting comes with? Like, that's a little different. But yeah, I see a lot of our people do that. And I don't think it's right. You know, even if your child's young, I don't think it's right to do, like, there's always that thing of like when you're young and like, you know, your aunts and uncles give you money for your birthday or whatever. Your mom's like, well, I'll hold it for you.
I'll hold it for you.
Where is it? And now I'm 26. Where was it?
Right.
I specifically remember getting $50 from this uncle and $25 from that aunt.
Right.
Where's all that money?
Nowhere to be found. And see, and that's crazy because, like,
You want to get off your phone?
No, I'm really trying to, because, you know, I have to hurry up. I'm trying to make sure I can get my books for classes that start tomorrow. But anyway.
Thanks.
Because we're kind of behind schedule because
someone decided to have COVID.
Basil takes 30 years to get places.
So anyway, back to the conversation we are having, because like if you want to go there, I can say how when I got here, nothing was set up. So let's not forget that part. Let's not forget that.
Because
let's not forget that.
That microphone always gives me trouble. And you know
the microphone that I brought my money?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you bought it, you set it up.
Thank you. Anyway, so speaking of money, back to the topic.
But anyway, no, but yeah, I'm glad to say like my parents never really did that. Like my parents never even did the whole let me hold. I mean, maybe of course if I was like 1 or 2 or something like one of those ages where like I don't even remember, couldn't do anything with money anyway. But from all the ages that I could actually remember, like getting birthday money, like they never did the whole let me hold it for you thing, and like I never saw it. Like I think they were always good of not doing that to me, and like they didn't charge me all the way up until I moved. I moved out at 23. I moved out after college and after my first year of law school, and I moved out, and they didn't charge me. I didn't pay not one thing other than what I needed to pay for it. Then I moved out to my own place. So I don't know. I definitely don't think that parents are old, but like I mean, of course, like if I get to a point where I'm making like really good money and stuff, I would definitely want to give back to my parents.
That's different because you're financially stable enough,
right? That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I think the difference comes from. Because I think a lot of times when parents are doing that, you're putting your child in a certain situation where it's like they know how much money they're getting,
right?
And even if they don't know how much money, you know how much money they're getting. Right. So it's like you can't do two, like you can't want your cake and eat it too. If you're taking your child's money, they're also like they're still living at home and you're always complaining about that as well. It's like, well, you got to pick one. But I also don't think that like just because you're a parent, you're not entitled to shortchange your child and put them in a position where they feel or they think that they can't move on.
Right.
Because then it shows them they don't. That, a lot of times they wouldn't want to work because it's like I know. Even if they don't, if I know mom's going to take, 2/3 of my paycheck, then what's the point of me even working? Because I know I'm not going to see almost any of those funds.
Right.
So I think as a parent, you have to understand that, like, you are you, your child is your child. Like, your job after you raise your child is to get them to, just like Bert, leave the nest.
Right.
But holding them back by, holding their funds for your own use when, sis, you should have a job.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, your job's not paying well. You might need to leave that position. But going after your child's funds or whatever, for whatever reason, other than that child's a menace.
Right. And I think also what a lot of it has to do with, it's still not fair to still do that to your child because you don't want to set your child up for that life. But I think a lot of it has to do with poverty in certain communities especially. So it's like, some parents, especially if they're a single parent or something, like maybe struggle to make ends meet paycheck to paycheck. So it's kind of like to them, it's like soon as their child is an adult, it's like, whoo, child, I can get some. You know what I'm saying? Like I can finally get some extra money and make them help.
But I mean, not to be mean, that's not.
But that's what I'm saying.
Not my problem.
Yeah, I know that. It's not your problem. You should still care or something. But what I'm saying is like you shouldn't want to put your child in financial hardship. Like, you should want them to be able to do better so they don't have to struggle paycheck to pay. Because, like, it'd be some people that I know actually have to, like, leave school or can't pursue what they want to do because they have to get some sort of basic job because their parents is pressuring them to pay rent, or I can't pay for you to do X, Y, and Z, so you need to pay for it for yourself. And then it's just kind of like, okay, now they left school and they did this job and it kind of set them up.
You know what bothers me about that, too, though, a little bit? Is like, how bad, like I know my own personal struggles, and I would never want to see my child go through that.
Right.
So it's like, if you know you have to work paycheck to paycheck, maybe you are working paycheck to paycheck while you had the kid.
Right.
I don't know, get a loan or whatever, like have them go to school, but maybe give them the opportunity to go further so maybe they won't have to do that.
Right.
But like pushing them to work paycheck to paycheck just because you work paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
It's the same cycle that y'all all are going through at the same time. And it's like, no, like at least
give them a chance.
I hate to say, like, you need to keep struggling, sis.
Right.
Like, you need to keep struggling.
Yeah. And
because
maybe
you got to give your child the opportunity to get out of that.
Yeah, give them the chance. That's what I'm saying.
They can go to school and get a bachelor's or whatever and be out here working for Beyonce.
Right. Yeah.
You never know.
Opportunity. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Give them the opportunity. It's like, I understand that you maybe need help or whatever, but don't put your child in the same predicament to struggle like you did. And like you said, and maybe
a lot of parents love doing that though.
Right. If you sacrificed and really like do everything you can to give your child the resources they need to uplift them. Like you said, maybe in the long run, it may pay off for you if they are extremely wealthy. Now they can buy you a house or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, or help you out in a way once they are financially stable and be like, you know what, my mom or dad did, sacrifice a lot for me. Now I want to give back to them. But they're not going to be able to get to that point if you force them to work at, I don't know, a job making $7.50 an hour just because you wanted them to pay rent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so.
Or this is where I'm gonna end it a little bit off here.
Right.
A lot of parents who this too would drive me nuts. If your child ever has the opportunity, if a once a lifetime type of opportunity shows up, right. I can't stand a parent that will be like, no. Right. Like what's that cool. That Meet the Browns, the Tyler Perry movie? When Meet the Brand, but Angela Bassett, remember she was the mom, and the son was like, "Oh, I can go into the NBA X, Y, and Z," and she was also against it. Right. Sis, you broke. You better be happy about this, because my thing again, because you grew up in a certain situation where you didn't have that opportunity. If your child gets that opportunity, obviously, still make sure they're not going to be taken advantage of. Right. But what is your issue? Like, let them if Lizzo sent them a DM and said, "I need you to come to Los Angeles. I'll pay for your plane ticket." Maybe be like, "Okay, tell Lizzo I wanted to come with you because I'm your mom." Right. To make sure obviously everything is legit. Right. But if you get there, you could be a dancer for Lizzo, a Beyonce, a Trey Songz or something. Right. Let them go do it because you don't even listen. At 23. They could be a multimillionaire, but you told them no, and now they're still at your house at 30. Right. Working paycheck to paycheck, working at Target, McDonald's, and Burger King to afford some rent that you started charging them for no reason. Right. Right. Or because you want to go in their paycheck and take it out because you want to get something, or you want to just hold them back. Yeah. And you don't know, you could have the next Steve Jobs, the next Beyonce, the next whoever. They could be an assistant and be making millions. Right. And I think just to wrap that up real quick, I think also, it's pretty much the bottom line is that, like, just because your child is legally adult at 18 doesn't mean that they're now your equal, don't need your support still and stuff. Like, they're still at those very formative years where they are trying to get themselves set up in life. And if you can and can afford it, you should support them and not force them down a certain path that is going to make them end up in poverty. I realize. Speaking of being equals, right. Let's transition. Right. Tyrone. That was just so awkward. Speaking of that, this is something that is on my mind and is bothering me. Mm-hmm. When it comes to parents, your child is your child. And I say it not your equal. In the sense that the way that you speak to your children in public, or the way you treat them in public, private as well, but in public. Right. Y'all, we got to work on that. We got to work on that. The way I see sometimes our people. Right. The way I see them treat their sons and daughters in public make me want to take my head off, spin it 3 times, and throw it at somebody. Right, right. The way I don't know this woman's TikTok. Mm-hmm. I don't care what her TikTok is. I don't follow her. I feel like I blocked her. I don't know if it's supposed to be a family friendly, funny sketch. Right. But the way that she talks to her children and the way that she like squares up with it. Okay, if our listeners don't know what squaring up means, getting prepared to fight. Right. The way she squares up with them and talks to them, I don't care if it's for a TikTok. I don't care if you're being serious. what is your problem?
Right,
Like talking to your children as if they're like, this is not some random person in the street. Why are you talking to your sons and daughter, calling them motherfuckers this and bitches this, all that? You got to get that together. But the way that some of these parents are out here, like acting like their son and daughter is somebody who they fought.
Right. The mom parents I almost squared up with out in public because I'm like, I hate the way they talk to her, especially the children. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 year old, and you are gripping them up and cursing at them and
cursing is general.
Like,
my mom did not curse at me as a child. I knew that for sure. We always talked about it. She never cursed at me.
Like,
gripping up, maybe. I mean, if you depending on how bad you are.
Right.
These little Dennis the Menaces out here.
It's a difference.
You need a little grip up. Like, if you don't go sit down.
It's okay. Yeah, like go sit down. But you dumb motherfucker, blah blah blah. Use all this. I'm like, are you? He's 2.
Yeah.
First of all, stop crying. And I'm like, I'm about to give you something to cry about. How about that?
And it'd be like little stuff. Like it'd be like a little kid to go and like pick something up, or maybe like knock something over by accident. Like I'll see like a kid walking. You know, kids walk with their head. They be just bobbling around. Right. And I saw a kid like knock something over, and there was like some little small display, and it's like, oh, it's not. What the fuck? Bring your dumb ass here. Why did you? Ma'am, just pick it up. You're not gonna pick it up anyway. Go pick it up. Damn, like why are you screaming at your child?
It's just like they can't make any mistake, and it's just like
any mistake. You out there about to beat them up.
I just can't. And it's
but
like,
when it's like
so mad.
When they're a certain age, especially when you get into like the teens, I feel like it's so dehumanizing,
right?
Because obviously no child wants to obviously argue or fight with their mother or father in the street. But at a certain point, like if you like, let's say you're looking at somebody, maybe like it's other people your age around you,
right?
I don't look like a bitch. So when you doing all this, I'm ready to snap back at you because in my head, I'm going back to somebody disrespecting me.
Right.
It's not going back to, oh, this is my mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle. It's going to me being disrespected, and now you're disrespecting me in public and gripping me up and all this, and I'm a full-grown teenager or whatever. I'm ready to like give you a little shook, like what's up?
Right.
But I can't because you're my parent. But it's like, why would you do that for your? Why would you do that? Why would you embarrass them to that point?
And they think a lot, and especially in our community, they equate respect. Like, your child give me respect with them fearing you, or them or you have to yell at them. But I'm like, first of all, I don't think that's how you get respect. I always believe, even if it's your child, my favorite line is, you give respect to get respect. And it doesn't matter.
That, you can put a bing bong on that one.
Right. Bing bong. So it's like, okay, that's your child. And first of all, like, think about it psychologically. If your child's out in the street and you talking to them how somebody in your school would talk to them if they getting fussed at, or if they're in an argument, does your child respect that person with oh, I'm so sorry, stuff like, no, they be better square back. So if you out here acting like you another random person in the street, they probably approach you like you another random person. You know what I'm saying? Like another random person in the street. But I always feel like, especially in our community, it's always like, the child gives respect. The child gives respect. But I'm like, I feel like children deserve respect too, even at a younger age. Like, even with the whole no means no type thing. At a certain point, your kids, you do have to have that boundary of your kids just listening to you, because sometimes you're saying something that could be, life threatening. So you need to get them to know like what you say goes. But I feel like giving an explanation every once in a while wouldn't hurt. That's how, like, if someone's telling you no, and you really don't understand, and your child really does not understand why you're telling them no, what is the harm in explaining to them why you're telling them no, or why you're mad? You know what I'm saying? Because that's how they're going to learn. Because if you tell them no and they don't understand why you're saying no, and you just say, because I said so, now when they're not around you and they have the opportunity to do it, they're going to do it because they felt like you said no just to be mean, or they don't know the reason. But if you explain it, they might be like, oh, that actually probably makes sense, so I'm not going to do the X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying?
Which, can we normalize parents being able to explain themselves? Right. Like, a lot of parents, a lot of times, I don't like parents, and like a lot of old people is like, yeah, like you said, like, I said it because I said it, or I did it because I did it. And it's like, that's not right. Like, you can't, like, it's not because I said so. It's like, no, I want to know exactly why. Right. Because my thing is, I think a lot of kids will understand
that's what I got
more.
In trouble with a lot in school.
Me too.
And that's how somebody was like, that's how we should have knew you was going to be a lawyer. Because I'm like, that just does not make logical sense. What is the valid argument? What is the violent orange?
No, for real, that's me too. Listen, I was always the one to kind of go back and forth with you because it's like, and also I do like not I don't blame my mom. I praise my mom because even though she didn't like me to do that with her, she did it with other people. She's like, never take somebody just because they said it doesn't mean anything. Now, Mother, I know you listen. We gotta talk about that with you sometimes. But like with other people, when somebody just tells me something, or just because, and it's like, well, then what's the purpose of this? Why? What is this benefiting for me, or for you, or for the greater good? What's happening?
Right.
And if you can't explain it to me, I feel like, okay, you don't have a valid reason. I don't have to do it.
Right.
It can't be because the company said so. Okay, why?
Why?
Like, what I tell them when I talk about my job sometimes, and they're like, oh, this is a new thing. And it's like, why are we doing this when we can do it this way? Or why are we doing this 3 different times when we can do it once and everyone figures it out?
Right.
Oh, because it's a new policy. Why is it a new policy?
Right.
But it's like, I'm inquisitive. I want to know why. But like, as parents, you have to understand, teach your kid why.
And you know why sometimes I think a lot of parents, let's go to a bigger societal thing. You know why I think a reason why a lot of people sometimes don't explain why they're saying or why they say the things that they do is because they don't know why they're doing it.
No.
And it's just like, and that's the thing I've been talking about with parenting, even with my hypermasculinity documentary and stuff. I'm like, sometimes people raise their kids how they were raised, and it come to a point where it's just a cycle of like, okay, that's how you parent, and it's like, okay, why is that the best practice? Because that's what my mom did. That's what their mom. But wait, pause. Is that help? You know what I'm saying? Is that the right way to do it? Let's think critically. Let's just stop doing things because it's what we're used to. And then everyone's favorite line is, well, we all turned out well. And I'd be like,
y'all didn't know.
Did you? I remember one of my cousins said, we all turned out. I was like, she was about, oh wow. I don't know if they did turn out.
Yeah, it's like, you got to look back. Did you think we did? Like, I mean, I can say for the most part, I mean, I turned out, except for like, anxiety and depression, I think that for the most part, I turned out okay. I turned out
well. But then also, I feel like my parents did not raise me as typically as like some black parents, right?
Yeah, I mean, same with mom. Like, I mean, I only got a beating or whooping or whatever twice when I was younger.
Right.
From mother. Now, grandma was a different story.
That's
Southern grandparents, different story.
Right.
But from my parent, my mom, it's only twice.
Right.
But a lot of times too, like even when I was younger, she would sometimes explain to me what I did wrong, and sometimes like we would sometimes come to even being young, we would come to a head almost because like she'll be explaining what's going on, and I'll be trying to explain what my side of it, and sometimes we would kind of get to a certain point of like, okay, I shouldn't be as mad about this as I was.
Right.
Like, you'd be really mad because like, oh, maybe I failed a test or this teacher said X, Y, and Z. But then you come to find out, oh, it wasn't you in the wrong, it was the teacher in the wrong, because then every teacher is right.
Right.
And sometimes it would be just the teacher in the wrong, and then like it'll come up to like, oh, I shouldn't be mad at you about this. But a lot of parents don't want to even go through, well, they tell me that, and they just start going off, and it's like, but I'm trying to explain, no, you don't explain nothing. And it's like, if you let the child explain themselves, and if you explain yourself to what's going on, you won't be in that position.
You know how people are, especially our people. It's like, once they get a theory in their head, that's what, first of all, I swear everybody in our community is That's a Raven. We all must have like telepathy because our people are good for telling you that you were trying to be smart or you were trying to be. I'm like, no, I wasn't. Yes, they was. Yes, I'm like, how do you know this? Like,
yeah, like how you know? What I'm saying is like coming off that way. If I didn't say it, I was. If I didn't say if it ain't come out this mouth,
right,
then it's a whole different story.
Right.
Like even sometimes like because I was always accused of as being younger as being disrespectful.
Right.
And a lot of times I'm like, I really wasn't. I was just asking a question.
Right.
But this teacher couldn't explain themselves, so they got mad about it.
Right.
And nobody told you to get mad about it. I literally just was like, you said something. I responded. You called mom and said, he's being disrespectful to me. So now I'm thinking I'm out here just being rude to people. But I'm like, no, my teacher told me to get out. And I asked her why, because I really wasn't doing anything at that moment.
Right.
Or it's like I was reading a book, and it's like, get out. And I'm like, why? I didn't do anything. And it's like, I'm not going to get out the room because you told me to get out the room. Like, what was I doing?
Right.
Because sometimes I really don't be doing nothing. Or Like, it'd be times where I got accused of, like, oh, you're talking. I'm like, I'm literally not saying anything. Or someone's talking to me, I'm literally not responding.
Right.
Or I'm saying, like, stop talking. Like, go back to your thing. You're talking. I'm not talking. I'm literally telling them to leave me alone.
Right. Perfect.
Or
example.
I'm doing something else.
Right. Perfect example. Like when I got that F in math before Christmas, and I kept trying to explain to my parents that my teacher is crazy, and black parents don't want to hear that. And then the meeting, mind you, after they took my PSP back, then they had the meeting after Christmas, and then to come to find out, they realized the lady was crazy because my mom was like, "So what did he do to deserve an F?" She pulled out one paper.
See,
and the paper, mind you, it was like 6 questions. It said that I got 5 out of 12 wrong. I'm like,
this is a math class? Oh, wow.
Yes, because you know how they be saying that the explanation wasn't what you remember how when we were in elementary school they used to want you to explain how you got the problem, and I guess she felt like some of my explanations weren't right, but all my answers were correct, and I'm like, this is math, not English class. Like, I'm not understanding. Like,
like I'm not getting what you're okay.
But sometimes you have to give your child the benefit of the doubt. That's what, and give them a little respect. My parents always like gave me respect and stuff, but I just feel like it's really important because when you give respect, it's like fear doesn't equal respect. Like if you give them a little respect, they respect you even more. You have an open conversation with them. You feel like you can go to them and talk. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's not.
Yeah, like I would say, respect is very much earned. That's why I don't like when it comes like the older generation. Mm-hmm. Not to be rude. If I don't know you, you're not my grandma. Right. I'm sorry, you might be somebody's grandma, but you're not mine.
Right.
If you come out your mouth crazy, I'm gonna come out my mouth sideways as well. But like, you respect your elders. Why? I don't know that old lady.
I don't know that old. You're so annoying.
I don't know that old man. Because sometimes y'all be coming out your mouth slick and crazy. Yeah, so when I come back out my mouth slick and crazy, respect your elders. I don't have to, Gertrude. I don't have to respect you, and I don't know you.
Not Gertrude.
And I tell my grandma that too. So sometimes, like, if my grandma says something slick, I'm like, I keep telling you this now. If you say something slick to these young people, they gonna say something slick back to you.
And first of all, this generation is not even gonna say something. It might be a brick.
They might hit you.
These kids are crazy. Like they ain't even know.
So you can accidentally, you can say excuse me, and they're like, "What that man say?" Like they be ready to knock you under next year. Like. But yeah, again, like just to reiterate, respect is always earned. It doesn't matter how old you are, what your respect is earned. It's earned with supervisors. It's earned with parents. It's earned with older people. It's earned with everybody. Even when I used to work in a school, I never treated the kids like they were lesser than me.
Oh, of course.
My kids, when I was working with, from 4th grade up until when I was working with preschool,
right? We
had that kind of dialogue where it's like, we not friends, we got that. But we understand each other, so that I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you. I'm going to listen to what you got to say.
Yeah,
I'm listening to what someone else going to say, but you going to listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah, and
we're going to move on that way.
It's a balance, right? Like one quick thing with me and Monica when I worked at SMP, that summer program, and towards the end, I was me, Monica, and like Tessa. We were. Well, we had many kind of positions, but our main position was college education. Application boot camp instructor. So, we had those like group of rising 12th graders that we like did lessons with them about writing and stuff like that and college prep and all of that. But we would be like really cool with them and we created a real rapport. But every once, like sometimes they would get a little rowdy. And I remember one time they got a little rowdy and you could tell it was like merging onto like maybe they thinking like we're kind of just like their friends. So Monica had to, Monica turned into mom mode. She was like, hold on, Tyrone. Excuse me. Me and Tyrone are very nice to you. We don't have to be. I'm like, we don't have to be. Like,
I love Monica. She is a mess.
And then they was like, sorry. But, it's just about a balance. Like, sometimes you have to get a little stern because teens especially can get a little... And it's not even that they're being disrespectful. They just... lose themselves a little bit.
Sometimes a lot of times too. I've noticed this when I was working with 4th graders. I'm not saying I got bucked with my kids, but I think I would also put them in a position to like, again, we're not equals, but I got you.
Right.
Okay, you see me, I see you.
Right.
You jump up, I'm jumping up as well. I'm gonna stand right in your face and let you know.
Right.
You need to calm down because you're getting above yourself.
Right.
You're still a child. Relax.
Right.
But if you want to explain yourself, go ahead and explain yourself.
Right.
But I think that
we're out of time to explain ourselves.
we're done.
It was a good episode.
Guys, I want to say we'll see you guys next week, next Monday, like always.
Yes, we will.
Be nice to your friends, family, and others if they be nice to you.
Stay safe. Wash your hands.
Follow us on Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, and everything at CodenameZ Podcast.
And see you
next week.
Bye.